Hi everyone. I'm going to start. Skinner defines verbal behavior as behavior that is established and maintained by reinforcement. The reinforcement is mediated by another individual, and the individual is specifically trained to give that reinforcement. An example of verbal behavior would be saying water and then somebody giving you a glass of water. So there's the speaker who said water and the listener who gave the water and reinforced the speaker. And then examples of nonverbal behavior would be like your reflexes. If you get a puff of air in the eye, you're not specifically trained to blink. It's just a reflex. So that wouldn't be an example of verbal behavior. Other examples of nonverbal behavior would be seeing the word stop written and then hitting the brakes because that's a conditioned response. Being hungry and going to the store because there's no other person mediating that reinforcement. And being happy and smiling, which is the same. Skinner's analysis of verbal behavior is different from how others may consider behavior because of the term non-vocal behavior. And so it might get confused with, or nonverbal behavior, which might get confused with vocal behavior such as shrugging or nodding. Some people would consider that nonverbal behavior, but that doesn't match up with the definition that Skinner gives. And then I would explain Skinner's analysis to a person without a behavioral background by explaining that in behavioral science, verbal behavior involves a social interaction between a speaker and a listener. And the speaker gains rewards or access to control of the environment through the actions of the listener. So verbal behavior, it may be spoken, written, signed, even typed in Morse code. So it's not, just spoken. It can be any kind of behavior that communicates something to someone who can do some reinforcing. As long as there's a speaker and a listener, and the listener is accommodating the speaker. So an example to explain to, a friend who doesn't know behavioral science would be like when you say water and somebody gives you a cup of water. An example of nonverbal behavior would be being thirsty and getting the water yourself. So I hope that kind of explains verbal behavior in layman's terms. Thanks.